I was afraid that once we got through the onboarding that they would be afraid to go into class. And so I just kind of sneakily would be like, you just did a full
it's like
workout.
putting veggies in the meatloaf.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Putting veggies in the meatloaf.
Cheese
I
on the
love
broccoli.
that.
Welcome to the Best Hour of Their Day podcast with your hosts, Jason Fernandez.
And me, Jason Ackerman. With more than 20 years in the business,
As both coaches and affiliate owners,
our passion is to help create world-class affiliates.
and coaches by building
Better boxes.
boxes.
Welcome to
The best hour of your day.
Today's episode is brought to you by Enlifted. As a Best Hour listener, you know that training your mind is just as important as training your body. Enlifted provides elite coaches and affiliates with practical, powerful mindset tools that can transform your athletes, your gym's culture, and give you an unshakable edge as an affiliate owner. Learn more by signing up for your free mindset training at enlifted.me/best hour. Enlifted, mindset simplified, results amplified.
All right, we've got Jeremy and Juliet. Julie, Hale, Richie. Is it
Yes.
Richie?
Richie.
But
yes.
they're married.
Yes.
We found that out. We confirmed our suspicions.
It is official.
That they are
I
married.
do have a ring. Yes.
I always joke Desert Devil, but it's Desert Devil CrossFit.
CrossFit, Correct. yes.
And we're going to talk about how you've raised the bar at the box and everything that goes along with that, and also shifting the culture there. We're improving the culture and the importance of culture. So let's start here. How'd you guys get started?
Well, we found CrossFit in 2007.
Old
And,
school.
Yeah, where it was like the .com workouts, and I think it was a magazine article that came out that year that I
That's-
was in Korea.
Potentially the one I found. Yeah, it was like Muscle and Fitness.
And when
Yeah.
we were deployed over there with F-117, and I came back, hey, Julie, we need to try this stuff. And I think one of the first workouts we did on .com was like walking lunge for 400 meters.
Ooh.
And like 2 weeks later, I was dying still.
Still couldn't walk.
Still-
Yeah.
Doms.
Don't suggest that one.
Like, I didn't know my taint could be so sore.
I did that one often during the pandemic. I would just go out and lunge. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And then we did some other stuff at a Globo gym, and then progressed there and found a CrossFit gym in Las Cruces in 2010, and was going there for about 4 years. And then we're like, wanted to find out, start a gym on our own because we weren't seeing the people progress. Like all the high level people were getting attention and everybody else was being left behind.
And is that where you really began your focus on culture? Like knowing, hey, it's one thing to focus on the competitive athletes at the higher level, but these people are the ones that actually need it.
Yeah. And mainly because I was a person who I wasn't a gym rat. I wasn't a meathead who had 20 years of powerlifting behind me. And so when we
Are you
started
talking about Jeremy right now? I just want to make
Just-
okay.
Negative.
General.
Too. Wasn't a dummy like this guy. That's why it took 4 years for her to say yes, by the way.
The hyphen makes sense now.
Yeah. Just, reinforcing some things here. And so when we started doing workouts off of .com, it was way back in the day where it was the Brand X.
Oh, yeah.
And you had
Jeff and Mickey, yep.
You had big dogs, porch puppies, or whatever. And so when we were doing it on our own, I was going through those Brand X modifications and learning how to scale and modify and learn. And so I was watching other people in the gym coming in, you got to be brave just to walk in the door, number one.
Yep.
And then if you're somebody who doesn't have those skills preemptively, it's kind of, nerve-wracking. And so I found myself like, hey, man, you should really try doing this. Or, as a smaller person, I was like, we have to focus more on technique than just brawn strength. And so that's just kind of where it morphed into a natural kind of helping coaching kind of thing. And when that piece was missing at the gym that we were at, we just kind of was like, I think we're going to go do our own thing.
But to bring up something you said, so back in 2007, the workouts would come up, and it would only be RX, whatever it was.
Everything else
the
happened in the
first
comments.
comment, right? The first comment was almost always Jeff or Mickey, like with what you said, like 4 or 5 different scaling options, and that was like really cool because that took work, and no one else was doing it back then. Like that was, it's like you.
Think about how far ahead of the curve that is, by the way.
Right. But it was every day, like comment one, like one of the top comments, like here's just the 4 options. And for a lot of people like you, like me, before there was, programming webinars online and before there was all these other seminars, that's how you learned how to scale.
Yeah.
By the way, I want to say this. You ever see these two on a call? Like,
You're
because
gonna have to be
Jeremy's
more
usually
specific, but
Jeremy's
yes.
usually like at the front of the desk, and you're like on the couch, quiet.
Yes.
She's the alpha. I just realized I didn't understand because you're always just sitting quietly
You can't
in the
hear
back.
what she's saying. She's like, you better be taking
Yeah.
notes up there.
Yeah, she's like, but I didn't realize.
I'm
Like,
going to want to read these after this
this
call's
is the
over.
first, I realized, like, oh, you're in charge. Your last name's going to be Richie. It's going to happen. Where did you guys meet?
In Las Cruces. And her brother, at the time I didn't know, had siblings. And so we were hanging out, and we met at going out to a bar or something like that there in Cruces. And it was
The old date your sister path.
Yeah, pretty much.
Did you have to hide it? Did you have to hide it from him, or
No.
was he?
No.
No, he's a
They
jerk.
weren't teenagers.
He would come to town to visit my brother, and my brother would just, like, he's the person who's like, I'm done, I'm going to go to bed. And I'm like, bro, your friend just drove an hour to hang out with you, and you're ditching
I get it. That's me. I get it. Go
It's
hang
like,
out.
meanwhile, he didn't drive an hour to see your brother.
Yeah.
After a while, yeah.
Now it's like we were going to visit her and see him a
Yeah.
little bit. So when you open the box saying, hey, we want to focus on culture, what did you say to Ren? You said knowing.
Oh, yeah, there's a difference between knowing something, knowing what it means, and knowing what to do about it. And I think you can really start to connect some dots with that framework about almost anything, right? So the example I would give is, hey, if I said, hey, you have anybody, right? So say Jeremy has a 500-pound deadlift, right? Now, you know he has a 500-pound deadlift. You may or may not know what that means, right? We might need a little bit more context. If I say Jeremy is 205 pounds, you're like, oh, that's double body weight deadlift. Like, he's strong. Okay.
Right.
And then there's, okay, what do I do about it? Well, it depends, right? Is that a competitive weight class for him? Is he just a CrossFitter? At which point I'm like, what do we do about it? Nothing. You're fine. Like you're going to
Stop deadlifting.
You can stop deadlifting. You're strong.
Move on.
Yeah, you're strong, but that's the difference, right? So knowing something, knowing what it means, and then knowing what to do about it. And people are typically missing one, if not two of those
Well,
things.
and relating it to culture, like a lot of boxes, like, hey, when we open, we want to pride ourselves on culture. Cool. How? Like,
Yeah, so then we go, so if we would work through that framework, so you know what you wanted, right? I mean, I know I want good culture. What does that mean? What does good culture mean to
I
you guys?
think define that too, right? Like
That's what I'm saying. What does it mean
yeah.
to you guys?
That means meeting people where they're at and understanding what shit they bring to the table with them and why they're at the gym. And
Are you suggesting that athletes bring baggage to classes with them?
not at all.
Never.
Never.
Because I would never suggest that affiliate owners bring
No.
baggage to class.
And just understanding like how to communicate with people and like what are their goals and why are they there? What gave them the courage to walk through the door or make that phone call? And it's funny because I think it was you in Nashville might have been talking about how people that late at night you get those
Oh, yeah. You're
rate
laying
request or whatever.
Yep.
Like that's no joke.
So what I was talking about was if you look at affiliate owner, honestly, I see it less, but this used to be very common. You would look at the timestamp on when a lead would come through, and it would be late at night, and people were like, "Why would they be sending that?" I'm like, "Because
they're depressed and
they're
bad.
feeling bad about themselves.
They just
So they're
ate
like,
a
I'm going
pint
to
of
do
ice
something
cream.
about it.
Yeah.
Bam, I'm going to submit this form, and then I'm going to go from there." But yeah, it's a real thing.
It's a real thing. And so they're sitting at home struggling. Why are they struggling? Well, let's talk about it. What got you here? And making sure that people have support throughout their journey. There's a couple members in mind right now that are going through a divorce, having, baby daddy problems and just coming out of COVID and depressed and anxious and having all these things and getting them through that onboarding process and knowing that, hey, I'm going to hold your hand and you don't have to be perfect. And
How do you do that? Like,
Yeah,
how do
so
you-
now we get into the
right,
what
like-
do you do about
like
it,
it's-
right? So we know what it is, we know what it means. What
Like, how do
about it?
you show somebody, like, hey, we got you?
That initial consultation, when we want to talk to them and dig into why they're there.
This is where a lot of people struggle, so I think we could stick here for a second. So just give a general framework for your, like, somebody, a lead comes in, right? They've confused it for Desert CrossFit. They're like, I want candy, right?
Two
we
S's.
came for the cake.
Two S's is dessert, by the way, because
Yes.
there's always room, right?
Right.
Yes, there's always
And you get them to come in the door, and then what's the framework for that consult look like when you guys, or is it a consult? I don't even want to jump the gun. Yeah,
no.
okay.
It just depends. The basis is getting to know them.
Mm-hmm.
What's your deal, and then letting them know, hey, because a lot of people, they're like, oh, I can't do that. Like, it says I have to do this. I'm like, that's top tier. Like, we're here, and we're going to help get you
skipped
to there.
5 years into the future.
Yeah, you skipped 5 years into the future for sure. So it's just letting them know that we're going to meet you where you're at. Yeah, okay, so you might have a strong strength base. Cool. But when we're doing these workouts, you're going to be like here. It's a whole different thing. And then if there's somebody we've got a bunch of runners who want to come in and be stronger and avoid injury, we're like, okay, cool, you got this. Well, when you start lifting weights, those weights are going to be a lot lighter than what it says on the board.
Are you guys talking a lot about working out in the consult?
We're talking a lot about working out. We're talking a lot about what does your sleep look like? What does your support system look like? We're talking about, who do you live with? Is this person on board with you? Most of the time we ask if they have a significant other to bring them with us or bring them with them. So, because it can be a financial, commitment to get in there, especially if they haven't ever moved. Your onboarding is going to be more like 12 sessions, not 2 or 3.
What's your background?
Massage.
Really? I'm over my shoulders. No, but that makes sense. Like, I was going to say psychologist, but I think there's a lot of...
Well, I'm a little bit cuckoo too, but that's okay.
But there's a lot of overlap there. And, very quickly, you have to, gain trust.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm going to touch your body and be able to feel not just pain, but
as a massage. Somebody, okay.
As a coach, as a level 4, that is. No, but, you're gaining trust. Yeah. You're, feeling... You're intuitive a lot, I would say, as a massage therapist. You have to be, right? You have to very quickly get to it.
You get a personal assessment of what's going on with that person. And
how quick did you get? Did you stop getting massages? Was it the classic Seinfeld of I'm dating the massage therapist now?
She also used to cut hair, and I got 1 or 2 more cuts during COVID, and it was like,
can you give this guy a good fade or what? No,
this place next door, I think.
Yeah. So, but that's interesting, and I think part of it is understanding, because I think one of the challenges is cool, we do a good job with assessments. How do you pass that off? You can systematize a lot of what you're saying with, hey, these are the questions we found work. Like you said, what's your home life? What's your sleep? Do you have a significant other? Are they on board? To start to pass this along. So that's how you develop the culture. Now it's not just the 2 of you doing it, but everyone at the box asks the same types of questions and gets the same results.
Yes.
And all of our coaches are trained in that, and we have a specific worksheet for that on those consults.
Right. But that's where a lot of affiliates go wrong. Either they're great at it and it's internal. This is how I do it.
Yeah.
But I don't know how you can do it. So I have to always do this thing. But there is a way to pass that along, like you said. Hey, these are the questions to ask.
Yeah.
Then enter them somewhere so when Jeremy, when Julie, when whoever's coaching them reads them, we know where to begin.
Yeah.
Yes, we do that, and we go every time we hire a new coach. We go through those questions and go through that movement assessment with those coaches until they get comfortable with it, and are able to repeat it and get that feel for that new client.
Gotcha.
So what is the? So we were chatting a little bit before this. So when you say movement assessment, give us a better idea of what that means, right?
So we were working with a different business mentor.
Working with Active Life.
So we were working with Active Life before, and one of the best things that we got from them was that movement assessment. So we're checking, just joint movement. Are you mobile and are you flexible? And what do we need to do to make sure that we are best serving you once you get into class? Classic example, we had this girl come in. She's 22 maybe, nursing student. She's super fit. Lifted weights. We went ahead and did her movement assessment, and her shoulders did not move.
She's my shoulders hurt, and you're well, your overhead position is right here, so that makes perfect sense.
So normally, you would look at that girl, and, she looks fit, she's young, she's doing all the things. You put her on a pull-up bar, she's going to have a trashed shoulder in 2 months. That girl ended up spending 2 months doing personal training before she even went into class. So you've got to stick, the standard is the standard.
Right.
You've got to stick to the process, because if we would have just been oh, you look good, you're young, you can do CrossFit, cool, and throw her in there, she would have been a hot mess. And then we're contributing to CrossFit's bad for you, right? And so that's mainly one of the things that we wanted to start to erase. because
When you shifted
CrossFit's-
to that process, what was that like? I've seen a lot of people struggle to shift. What was it before? Let me ask you a better question. What were you doing before you moved to some sort of movement assessment on the front end?
we did all the things.
Okay.
Like 6 week type onboarding and stuff like that. We didn't check range of motion and stuff like that, and didn't have a good idea of how to assess people before that.
We had a foundations class when we first opened. The first month was like a foundations class, which essentially we just went through. I took like the 9 foundational movements and some other things and put them in there, taught them, gave them scaled workouts. And then at the very end, it was essentially 12 sessions. At the very end, we would put them through a workout, and then I would be like, you know what? You just did a CrossFit workout, because I was afraid that once we got through the onboarding that they would be afraid to go into class. And so I just kind of sneakily would be like, you just did a full
it's like
workout.
putting veggies in the meatloaf.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Putting veggies in the meatloaf.
Cheese
I
on the
love
broccoli.
that.
It's a little more obvious. His broccoli is orange.
You see what I'm dealing with here? But so we started that, and then we kind of just was like, screw it, let them go, because then they would still fall out.
After they finish that whole process.
yeah.
There,
then they would
there is a
still-
disconnect of like, hey, we're going one-on-one for, what did you say, 12 sessions?
Well, that was like a group class. It was like our beginner class.
Okay, so I'm with the same people
Yeah.
over and over for 12, and then all of a sudden you want me to go with those animals?
Yeah.
Right? It's like, that's
And
scary.
even so, when I would be like, you just did this. You got
But it's
it.
different. I did it with you, and I did it with these people.
Yeah, and then putting them into class, and then they would just like fall away. And so we tried different things, and so
Did you ever analyze that and find out what the disconnect was between, hey, everything was fine up to, because if you look at that, a couple of things come to mind. They were probably paying significantly more going through that.
at the time, no,
No.
it was just
that's
their
part
first
of it,
month
right?
membership.
What time frame is this? What time?
This was our first year,
So it's
2015
to
2015.
Okay. But you're getting more, very high touch point, obviously. And then you go away from that. That may have something to do with the drop off as I'm asking these questions. Yeah. Okay.
Probably.
But did you ever do like a after action on that to figure out like, hey, what's going on here?
No.
Okay.
No, we didn't.
But you're right. It's usually the price was higher or lower, and now it's different, whatever that looks like.
Where I was going with the higher price was if it becomes cheaper, you would assume that you would have less drop off than if it was higher in a lot of instances. But since the price point was
Yeah, it
not
was the same.
was the same, then I think it's different. Then I think it's then it might be just the touch points. The accountability piece takes a pretty significant hit when you transition out of that.
Well, and were you the only one doing it?
Pretty much, yeah.
And I think
yeah, that was it. We were
That's the thing, right?
we
It's
were
like-
baby
It's both,
Yeah. right?
affiliate owners
Yeah.
and doing everything all day, and still doing other jobs, and it was just not, we've grown and
So,
evolved.
was there something between the 12 sessions and what you're currently doing?
From what we're currently doing. Oh gosh, I don't know. It's been
a long time
several
since
years,
that.
so we've had plenty of iterations
Yeah.
of the onboarding, so I couldn't even tell
I
you.
think from using that consult, getting to know the person more and teaching them why we're doing this and being able to explain through all the movements, and if they're like that ankle mobility test, why they have ankle issues or that could be caused
Yeah,
by
so
this.
it's a pretty simple dorsiflexion test, like foot on the
Yeah.
ground, mark it out how far the knee goes over the toe, with the heel on the ground.
And being able to fully explain that, and then, hey, I think you should be good with 3 sessions just to teach specific movements, Olympic lifts or something else when it comes
Or like
to that.
you do like a basic hip hinge test?
Yes,
Yeah,
it's
I think-
the whole standard test.
Yeah, I think.
Can you squat? Can you hinge? Can you press?
Yeah, I think the hinge is the most telling.
Yes.
I think the ankle is a good one, but the hinge is the most telling.
Why do you think? Why?
Number one, just the nature of most CrossFit movements are almost entirely frontal plane fixated.
Yeah.
So it's
And
a hip hinge.
and
of some-
hinging, yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
hinge. And if you think about the number of things that would be impacted due to some sort of deficiency in the hinge, it's a lot, right? Basic deadlifts, kettlebell
all the
swings,
Olympic lifts,
all
right.
the Olympic lifts. The list goes on and on and on. And a lot of people that come in, like, my back hurts and the doctor said I shouldn't do this. And I'm like, hey, can you touch your toes? And they're like, no. And I'm like, we should start with that. That probably has something to do with why your back hurts. I joke, but I'm not joking.
Yeah.
Like, if you
No,
you
it's
don't
legit.
possess that, like, very simple human capacity, it's very likely that you have back pain because you should be able to do that. So.
Yeah. You should be able to bend over and touch your toes, and you should be able to sit down and
do it without bending your knees or like having to warm up.
Oh gosh, yeah.
You know?
Do you incorporate any massage into the box right now?
I did when we moved into our new building, and then COVID came, and I kind of let it go for about a year, and then decided I went back. So now my office is not in the gym anymore, but
Full service massage, workout, haircut. I feel like you're missing out here.
right.
Do you have an office at the gym?
Not a massage office.
My massage office is not in the gym anymore.
So you
but
still
we
do
do
massage?
have office. Yeah.
Okay. You could probably, if you had space, you could probably integrate that into the gym. That'd be a one route.
Because you would get a much higher percentage of your members if it's like, oh, I can just go right there.
Well, we have one at our gym. We've had a massage therapist there for years, and it's a very nice tangential service to offer that is very much relevant to your athletes.
Yeah, and my work is very complementary and focused
course,
on
yeah.
functional movement.
Right,
And
right.
what can you do? What
Well,
can
you know
not
what their
do?
deficiencies are. I know where to work on you.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the best. I love it because I get to watch my athletes move, and then I can, do the soft tissue work to help not only get them stronger in the gym, but also release those things and help, activate and do all that. So what they do in the gym is better.
So coming up on 10 years next year?
Yep.
Next year's 10 years.
Yeah, when in
April.
Wow.
yeah, so you're almost at 10 years, which is badass.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's badass.
All right, guys, if you like this content, please subscribe to the podcast. But understand, we work with affiliates. If you are interested in building your business, understanding strategy, building a better community, and building better coaches and careers for them, hit the link somewhere around this video, and we'd love to have a call with you. Every CrossFit affiliate knows that mindset is either what limits or unlocks an athlete's potential. But the problem is most people can't give you a simple and clear definition of what mindset is. And most coaches don't have a repeatable or practical tool to consistently train it. And Lifted is here to help you solve that. And Lifted is here to help box owners and their coaches become world-class mindset pros by creating a simple, repeatable system for keeping you and your athletes focused and confident. You see, Enlifted's definition of mindset is simple. Mindset is the story that you tell yourself. And our good friend, Mark England, who's the head coach over at Enlifted, will show you how simple words and better breathing can help create better stories and ultimately better performance for you and your athletes. If you want your athletes to stay engaged longer, if you want them to be more consistent with their results, if you want your current members to stay with you longer instead of you having to chase down new ones, mindset must be a part of your business toolkit. At Best Hour, we use the Enlifted method all the time. We have our own personal program inside of Best Hour, and a lot of our coaches have been trained personally by Mark. We literally use these tools every single day. You see, elite coaches must have the ability to get past their clients' mindset blocks, whether it's an athlete who's sensitive about their weight or coming back from an injury, or even if it's something outside of the box that's affecting their performance inside it, you must have the tools to empower that athlete where they need it most. So if you're serious about building a top-tier box with an elite mindset culture, upgrading your team, and supporting clients at every level, then Lifted is for you. Head on over to enlifted.me/best hour and grab your exclusive free mindset training. Enlifted. Mindset simplified, results amplified.
What's been the most...
Took the words out of my mouth.
Well, you don't know what I'm going to say next.
That's true. You don't even know what you're going to say
We'll
next.
find out. I was going to say, what's been the most challenging part about owning a 10-year affiliate with your spouse, and what's been the most rewarding part? What are you laughing? We'll go challenging first. You'll each have to do one.
Okay.
You give us your most challenging. You know what yours is.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
definitely
She was
not what I
like, how
gonna
many
say.
do I get? How many do I get?
The fact that he is still alive and breathing is.
Did you try to kill him?
I haven't
Multiple
yet.
times. Multiple
This
times.
is why.
He's resilient.
Yes, he's very resilient.
That
Stronger
500-pound deadlift comes in handy.
Ripito was right.
strong people are harder to kill.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would say the biggest challenge for me was working a full-time job for 8 of those years.
What were you doing?
Aircraft maintenance. I was military Air Force for 22
Air Force,
years.
yeah.
Retired in 2012, and then I was working for M1 Support Services from 2012 till 2023, and we figured out we could live on my retirement pay and go from there.
You work on specific aircraft?
F-16, F-117, F-22, and then as a civilian T-38s, and then Transit where they
Got it.
non-base assigned aircraft come in and
Yeah,
take
yeah.
care of those.
Cool.
What?
Jay doesn't have any idea what you
No,
just
I
said.
do.
Yeah.
I was like, was I on one of those?
No, you were not. You would know.
No, I was gonna say. Fern
You're
mentioned.
like, why am I here?
Fern mentioned your powerlifting background.
Yes.
What are your best lifts?
Let's see. Deadlift was like a 585, but that was sumo back in the 90s. Bench 370, and squat 550, low bar.
And now you still try to keep up with the lifts, or do you focus more on CrossFit?
I focus more on CrossFit, and then when those lifts come up, like we following Cap, we had a one
There's a
like
total
week or
not
so
too long ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the CrossFit Total. I did 405 on a back squat.
Solid.
How old are
What
you?
was it?
52.
I think you're doing all
If
right.
you're
yeah.
squatting in the fours in your 50s,
Going back to, hey, knowing something, knowing what it means, and what to
Yeah.
do about it. Listen, if you're 52, back squatting 405, you're doing
what,
just
what
fine.
was your press and deadlift at
My
that?
press was weak because of the shoulder surgeries I've had in 2021 and 2022, but I got 155.
All right.
And then the deadlift was 455.
Yeah, not weak.
Yeah, not weak. That's still a 1,000
solid.
pound total. So, okay, we actually didn't say what the most challenging thing was. You just
It's just
let him be alive.
letting him be alive is number one. No, it's one of the things, like on the questions that you sent us, was we didn't have systems in the beginning.
Right.
And so working with you guys has really helped us get those systems. But it was like,
I remember early
we
on.
were just,
that
everybody was doing
yeah.
all the things and you didn't have direction. And we were those people who was like, let's just open a box and didn't have any business
For the
system.
record, that's everybody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that goes
We
back
can
to
do this.
that goes back to the assessment. My point was, you can systematize everything with the right systems and with the right questions or whatever you're trying to systematize. Well,
You have to define things.
Yeah,
That's where that's where the things start to break.
and like you
Yeah.
said, like what's culture? Okay, to me it sounds like for you guys it's like really connecting with our members and knowing, like you said, where to meet them and knowing what the potential challenges are going to be with them.
What was
So
something?
questions do we
Yeah, I
need
was
to-
gonna say, what was something that you realized that needed to be systemized that maybe wasn't obvious?
The retention, the follow-up, the how are we, because you said like in the beginning, like you have all these points of contact and then they get into class and then, you're like, oh shit, where's so-and-so? I haven't seen him in 2 months. Like it's that, the how do we make sure that we are making those touch points every month, every 2 months, whatever, to know that, yes, we still do give a shit. We didn't just want we just didn't want your money up front.
Right.
Like, and this is why we check on you, because I'm not going to take your money if this is not going to be a fit for you.
So is it a 180-day journey? Is that what you did?
We
to-
have like a 100-day journey to
Yeah,
grow.
some variation of that. So, were there any metrics that you looked like that were before and after? So you realized that we make some changes. What were you measuring as your data point to say, hey, this is working?
I'm still working on that.
But,
I'm asking
obviously,
the
it'd
question.
be retention. Like, what's our
Yeah.
LTV?
What's your churn? Yeah, what's your churn?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. But there's other things like you would want it to correlate with something. Meaning,
Yeah.
we had 33% increase in touch points in this time window, which reduced our churn by X number at this timestamp. Meaning, like, hey, if we increase the number of touch points in the first 90 days, what we find is that there is a lag metric associated with that at 6 months, where churn drops off dramatically across this cohort of people. So the reason I was asking that is when you change things, I think it's really important. You must define it, and you must define the measurables. So no different than a deadlift. Like, what deadlift? Is it sumo? Is it conventional? What is going to be considered success?
How old are you? Or
Yeah.
like-
But I mean, like, hey, if I'm gonna work on this, how much do I want it to improve by? If I do all of this work and in 9 months it's still 455, does that fall in the window of success that I had predefined? And if the answer is no, well, great. Then I just go back to the beginning and start over and start to reassess. Hey, there needs to be like a positive outcome for this. So I think defining your successes like very specifically. So hey, if we're going to work on retention, don't just throw it into the ecosphere as retention. What about it? Like
How do we measure it?
How do we measure it? Because if you can measure it, then you can change it. If you cannot measure it, you cannot change it. It's just useless work.
Absolutely.
All right, talk positive.
Yeah.
What's the best part about working with this guy?
I'm still alive.
It's both negative and positive.
getting
Yes,
better.
it is both negative.
Getting better at murder.
I'm getting better at it. No. It's cool to be able to just hang out with your person.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's not without the struggles. And learning how to separate work hats and home hats. That's
We just talked to Ren and Mike about. I mean,
Yeah.
like you said, it's nearly impossible.
Yeah, you can't completely decouple them.
no.
You just have to be a little bit more disciplined about it.
And understanding, a little bit of, okay, I get it. We're having a moment, and just be able to agree to disagree at sometimes.
Yeah.
That's true too. When you're running a business, it's important. Like, we can disagree and be friends, or we can disagree and stay married. Like, we just have different opinions on the
Definitely.
the topic.
And I think that's part of the culture too. We have a pretty crazy, and I'm sure this was with every boxes. You know, the diversity of our members is nuts. It's.
What makes you say that? What's nuts about it? What's
I just think it's
extreme?
super cool. Like, so back in like 2015, 2016, we had people from Kuwait, we had people from Guam, we had people from, you know, our hometown, we had people who were old, people who were young, and it's like,
Is it a military town?
These people
Yeah,
would
there was a
never,
base. There's a military.
Yeah, that makes
if it
sense.
wasn't
Army
for
base,
the
yeah.
gym, they would never know each other. They would never interact. They would never, like these worlds wouldn't collide, and we wouldn't have this great diversity. And I think that's just the best, where you can learn how to deal with people in all different languages, sizes, shapes, ages, cultures.
That's important to remember at an affiliate. Like, it's often we're changing people's lives, but we're also creating these unique bubbles, and like you said, helping people interact with people they would never interact with in this life. And not only that, sometimes it's become best friends. Sometimes it's find their spouse. Sometimes it's just, you know, having a gym buddy.
Yeah.
But it's really cool to be able to do that.
We have to go to him now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So positive thing is
Good way. Good start.
Good start.
Start with the
Way to go,
positive.
babe. See, that's one of the good things.
I picked up on that.
yeah. Positive thing is being there full time now and being able to get into operating the business and just learning and doing the things I haven't been able to do when you're just throwing everything up in the air and catching the things that fall into the ground and making that business prosper better.
What are some things, so on that note, what are some things that you guys have figured out how to do that you're less reactive on now? So you're talking like, when I'm catching stuff that's falling, I'm being reactive versus like, maybe I should just put it up there so that it stays there the first time. Have you noticed any of those things specifically?
Probably like cancellations and
So talk about it.
Like-
Tell me more.
like before, you get those cancellations and it feels like that emotional piece of it. Like, why are they quitting? This and that.
Why
And
do they
like,
hate me?
Why do
Yeah.
I reach out to them and see why what's going on? Tell me more about your situation so we can either rectify it and either you're going to part ways or with a good taste in your mouth, or we've figured out something and we kept them at the gym.
I think that is a seldom overlooked win. Is it when somebody leaves, but they leave on a positive note?
Yeah, because they often come back.
Many times.
Yeah.
You know.
But also, you take any affiliate owner that's sat in these seats would be like, have a hard time not taking every cancellation personally,
It's hard.
right? So, even again, going back to systemizing, cool, what questions do we ask when they leave? Is that more likely to leave them leaving positively, potentially even staying? Because I'm sure you do that often enough. You've had people that actually stay.
Yeah. We have
Or shift their course. Like,
they go to personal training because they have a pain in their knee or their back.
Right, but you wouldn't have known that. You just think I'm canceling because my knee hurts, so I'm scaling too much and I can't do this. Oh, well, we can train. Now I'm actually generating more revenue,
Yes.
helping somebody come back to class.
yeah.
That's cool.
Well, I think there's probably some sort of direct correlation between the health of the business and the level of anger that you have with the cancellation. I mean,
for sure.
they're probably inversely related.
Right.
You know, the more the business is struggling, the more angry you are when you have a
Because
cancellation.
it's not just like personal. Now it's like, I need that money.
Correct.
Right.
So I think it's just a good little gut check. But we're kind of like dancing around this idea of an exit interview essentially upon a cancellation. Do you guys have a format for that?
Not a formal one. It's just
It's a form. It's not a.
What's the form say? Generally,
Generally, it's
Yeah.
just like, was it an injury? Was it time? Was it financial? Just, and then even so, like, I was looking through one the other day, and it was she had to quit because whatever reason. And then on the bottom, it's like, would you still, suggest or refer your friends to Desert Devil CrossFit? And it was like, yes, absolutely.
And then do you guys have or at least informally say, if I get this answer, this will trigger a follow-up that has some sort of discussion? So meaning like if it's an injury, I'm like, hey, we're definitely going to follow up that and basically keep them training because whatever. What does that look like?
So that would be me reaching out, either email or phone call, and going, hey, is there something else that you're looking to do besides CrossFit that we can work with you and maybe help improve that injury? One of our employees has went through fitness pain free, so we can utilize him to do those things with personal training with people to get them out of pain. And some of the stuff we learned from Active Life as well.
Right.
To reach out. We've had a little bit of success with that, and another person I reached out to said they hurt their back, and it was not any doing of the workout. It's just they had
car accident.
I think it was a different individual, but we failed to screen that in the beginning and make sure that was something we highlighted. And so I reached out to him, and he was, radio silence when it comes to that.
That brings up an interesting point about how important an onboarding of any type is. And if I miss certain things, what happens is the likelihood for termination, cancellation, or shorter length of engagement starts to ramp up pretty dramatically. And something
100%.
like, hey, we didn't do this screening, 3 months later their back hurts. You're like, well, of course. We didn't screen for one of these things, or we didn't do something. So let's just say you're not going to do a movement screener, but I didn't put things inside of the training sessions that would highlight, going back to like a hip hinge. Like there's a lot of ways you can screen for hip hinge without doing a standard hip hinge test, which is like do a basic kettlebell swing, right? That's going to tell you quite a bit. So knowing those things so that you can transfer that information from whoever was doing the screening to the coaching staff, like, hey, guys, like Jay came in today. He is of short stature. He's going to need a box to get up to the pull-up bar. So make sure that those are set aside for him so he doesn't feel out of place in the class. And be like, I'm thinking about that. Because that way I don't get the cancellation. And he says,
I appreciate it. There's nothing worse than
right.
not
He's like, I
having
feel
a
like I'm being
local bar.
targeted in class when there's no box for the pull-ups, right?
Especially if it's
That's
a good
okay.
spiel bar.
Yeah, right.
I feel your pain.
But I think that brings up a really good point, is that when cancellations come through, I think it should prompt a question like, why? Like, what is going on here? We may or may not be able to save that right now. But if we can, we should try. If we can't save it, make sure they leave with a good taste in their mouth. But then, do that post-mortem on that cancellation. Say, hey, what could have been done prior to the cancellation? Was it just an attendance check-in? Was it a movement screening? Did we not reach out to them for their birthday, their anniversary, when they hit those 5 PRs? And I was like, well, let's just fix those. Because a lot of people, I've seen many cancellations over the years where like, they just didn't feel seen. Nothing was wrong. Nothing was going on. They just didn't feel acknowledged for basic things inside of the gym. I can fix that.
Yeah.
So. And that's one thing that's part of our culture. We want to make sure that everybody feels seen no matter what.
And then defining that, right? And so this is the drum that I want to beat here. It's just like, hey, what does it mean to make somebody feel seen?
Yes, we send a birthday card, an anniversary
right. Do
card.
we make an announcement in front of class? And going back to Jay's point, is like you can create a process or you can train anybody to do virtually anything, but you have to define it. Otherwise, you just get caught in the same chaos loop that everybody's like, we have great coaches and great community. I'm like, what does that mean? Like, you need to define that. When you say you have great coaches, what does that mean? When you say you have a great community, what does that mean? You need to be able to show me tangible things. Like, what's the checklist? We talked about repeatedly about like, who was I listening to recently? Just this idea of bundled terms. So he's like, hey, somebody has a great presence and attitude. Well, what does that mean? Well, I could unpack that whole thing and be like, hey, somebody that would be classified as having good presence and attitude would do these 13 things.
They would smile. They would say your name.
They would use your name, right? They would high five you. There would be laughter. You're like, okay. Well, you can teach people to do those things, and then they would eventually be described as somebody who has good presence and attitude, but not because they walked into the door and naturally did those things.
It's a skill that can be learned. It's just 20 other little skills in there. Wrapping up with your question.
Which one?
The one you always ask. Which
yeah. So I didn't know we were going there, right? Like that. So obviously, coming up on 10 years as an affiliate owner. 2 pieces of advice that you would give other affiliate owners that you have found to be impactful for you over the past almost 10 years.
Learn from people smarter than you.
So you made a poor decision here.
She didn't say she learned from me.
Fair. Okay, good. All right.
Like
what does that mean?
gain the knowledge from people who have been in the game longer than you have, or
that
have done it and made all the mistakes to say, hey, we tried this, and this, and it was complete crap. Let's do something different. And don't forget to have fun.
Ooh, yeah.
Like, it's very, very easy to stay in that. And I'm speaking severely for myself, is like, it's very easy to be like, we've been doing this for almost 10 years. How come we're not here? We're
Correct
not
me
doing
if I'm wrong.
that.
I just went into the time machine. Wasn't this a topic at the Nashville Mastermind?
Yes.
Like you two and
Yeah,
time
Yes.
together?
weekends, yeah.
Yes.
I
It was a hot
remember
seat.
that vividly now. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So what do you guys do now as far as like making sure that it's still fun? Like what are you guys doing for yourselves?
We're here.
Well, we're here. For one, yeah.
Well, I think that's great.
Get out and then,
Not that you're here, but you're like, hey, let's go do this together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
try to do things. We went bowling in El Paso a month ago, and we haven't gone out and done something fun just to mess around.
Who won?
I think she won. Like, we both
I got
throw
lucky.
gutter balls. And
I'm the worst. I need the little dinosaur tail
bumpers?
thing
You need the bumpers?
with
Yeah.
the bumpers.
the
Yeah.
thing you roll it down.
For like the 5-year-olds, that's what I need.
But
that's
it's
great.
important. I mean, not for any affiliate owner, but especially for married affiliate owners. Like,
Oh, yeah.
it's
Well,
easy.
but,
to just
fun
get in
is
the
one of
rut.
our core values.
Right. Then
for-
and then if you're not doing it,
And we're
don't
having
seem like
zero
fun
fun,
people.
yeah.
like personally.
Right.
So it's
But that trickles down.
Yeah.
You show back up Monday after traveling to San Diego. Your members feel it.
Yeah.
Have you noticed anything at the box since you made that shift for yourselves personally?
I personally haven't. I feel like we're pretty good at, like, this is like you put your game face on, right? You have to provide a service and a experience regardless of what is going on behind the scenes.
Okay, I asked a bad question. So, have you noticed any tangential or other things that are happening inside of the gym as a result of you guys focusing more on the fun aspect for you personally? Meaning, has that rubbed off on other people, the classes, the coaches,
I think
anything
it has
like that?
rubbed off on other coaches. I don't come in all like with an agenda of like I saw something wrong, and I'm more likely to go at it a better way of like asking better questions.
That's cool.
That's something that's helped with like doing the mindset course as
Yeah.
well. Is like ask better questions, be curious.
That's cool.
It's still a work in progress, but
It always will be. You just get better at it, and the changes you make start to become more refined, and they're seemingly smaller, but the outcomes start to be bigger.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, you're like, if I do one shift here, that changes somebody was bringing this up the other day. They were talking about they had gotten rid of a coach, but that the vibe in the gym was
Instantly
so
changes.
much better.
Yeah.
They're like, we had no idea what the hang up with having that person in the gym was. And they're like, I enjoy going to I remember exactly who it was. I enjoy going to the gym. Like, everybody's just generally happier. And what was interesting was, like, most people liked that person, meaning like they liked going to their classes and all that, but they brought a lot of extra baggage that was kind of swept under the rug that kind of seeped into, cliques and stuff like that. So I
Or
think
if the owner doesn't like them and everybody does, that's still gonna.
right. Well, I think
trickle
it's,
down, too.
I think the important component of that is it's no different than a coach running a class, right? If you're having fun, the class is probably fun. If you as a box owner are having fun, your coaches are probably having fun, and therefore your members are probably having fun. So I love that. I think because again, this can be what I consider like a really good lifestyle business.
Yeah.
Where you're just like, oh, this is like pretty rad. I get to go to the gym. I get to hang out with people. I get to have fun. I get to, call the shots. I get to fix things. I get to literally change people's lives. Like, it should be fun.
Yeah.
It should be fun. And if
Yeah.
it's not, figure out what's broken in order so that you can make it fun again. Because the more fun it is, the longer you're going to do this, the more impact you're going to have.
The
And,
longer people will stay with you.
Right.
Yeah.
All those things. So you guys are crushing. I'm proud of you guys.
appreciate it.
Thanks. It's
Yeah.
a lot of work, but
As it should be,
Yeah.
right?
yeah.
Yeah, changing people's lives is not intended to be easy,
No, it's
but it can still be fun.
yeah. Always try to have fun.
Yeah. Cool. See you guys next time.
Big thanks to our friends at Enlifted for supporting today's show. Enlifted provides elite affiliates and coaches with practical, powerful mindset tools that can transform your clients, your culture, and give you and your athletes an unshakable edge. Learn more by signing up for your free mindset training at enlifted.me/best hour. Thanks for checking out this episode of the Best Hour of Their Day podcast. We appreciate you listening and choosing to have us help you in your passion for coaching and affiliate ownership. You can find more episodes just like this on all podcast platforms. If you're interested in learning more, you can reach out to us on any social media platforms, or you can visit www.besthouroftheirday.com to book a call. If you found this episode helpful for you, please share it so that we can help other coaches and affiliate owners to help build a bigger and stronger CrossFit community. Thanks for listening.